Hi there, I'm Alessia Scavuzzo. My name is Caitlin Hartley.
Hi, my name is Emily McIntyre.
Hi, my name is Emily Salter.
My name is Gabriella Wagner.
My name is Sarah Copon.
Hi, I'm Leah Dunton. I'm Kelly Garside.
My name is Rolanda Souza.
My name is Matthew Trenier.
I'm Amanda Whidden.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Morgan.
My name is Dushan Lazarevich.
Hi there, my name is Katisha Rashid.
Hello everybody, my name is Scott.
Hi, I'm Bridget Leonetti.
Hi everyone, my name is Arash Farahani.
My name is Bhavish Malwani.
Hi, my name is Blair Smith.
I'm Carol Foderick, Principal Broker here at the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group. I've been in real estate for 21 years, and it is an incredible honor to lead a team of dynamic, top-selling agents through one of the most fast-paced markets in North America.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Amanda Whidden from the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group, and I'd like to welcome you to our masterclass designed to educate you and empower you on everything insurance today. So I know that understanding your insurance needs isn't exactly the most exciting task on your to-do list. After all, deciding what type of coverage you need, how much you need, and for how long is far from the fun part of owning your home, car, or renting an apartment. But here's the thing, it is an unfortunate reality that several times a year, the agents here are called to assist many clients for housing needs when someone has faced a catastrophe or a loss of housing. And too often that loss has been made worse because they didn't fully understand the coverage they had or thought they had, but they didn't. We are all living in a time of dramatic shifts in the insurance landscape. Rates and coverages are changing all the time, and we are honored to be here today with Jeff Hall with over 15 years of experience, and he's going to share so many insights on how to protect your home, car, and personal property, all while hopefully lowering your costs and improving your coverage. So today I'm also joined by all of the exceptional salespeople here at the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group. These are the agents that personally invited you to this seminar today. As you know, they'll be following up with you in the days ahead to be sure that you get the information that you need today and see if there's anything we can do to be of service for you. I was asked by a client recently, why do we host these masterclass seminars? Well, it is our hope that you find this seminar a reflection of the high level of professionalism, integrity, and service that we each strive to provide all of our clients. So before, during, and long after a transaction, you feel fully supported by us and have lots of information to make sure you make the best decisions. We do want to make sure you have access to all of the information that will help you make all of the decisions when it comes to your most valuable asset. So on a quick note, I do want to say that if you have any real estate related questions that are not about insurance or on this seminar, please reach out to your agent directly. They'd be more than happy to unpack them with you. A quick couple of housekeeping notes today. This is going to be recorded for the benefit of the people who could not attend today. So please keep your microphones muted to eliminate all of the noise. You might have noticed you've been muted when you joined in. And finally, if you'd like to ask a question during the presentation or need clarification on a particular point, please do use the chat function. We do have someone monitoring it, so they'll be able to see your question and make sure it gets answered. We are going to have questions and answer period, however, at the very end of the seminar, which we're going to open up the floor to all of you to ask all of your questions, anonymously, of course, or I can ask it on your behalf. So please send a private message in the chat and we'll make sure we do get it unpacked for you. We are going to be sharing this recording tomorrow and inviting you to chat confidentially with Jeff or the agent that invited you here today so that we can better understand your needs and how we all might be of service to you. So I'm going to hand you over to Jeff now after my big long spiel and to get things rocking and rolling. And thanks for welcoming and having us today, Jeff.
Hey, Amanda, thanks again to you and the rest of the team for having me out today. And thank you for all the attendees for taking their time out of their day to come for this seminar. I know it's a beautiful day. You'd rather be outside, but let's talk insurance. I won't take too much of your time and I hopefully not bore you to death, but I just have a little slideshow that I'm going to share here in a few minutes. Just going to run through some hot topics, some tips, and hopefully you can have a couple takeaways to help review with your own home, condo, renters, or auto insurance. So hopefully you get some value out of this today.
Wonderful, thanks.
You can see my screen, Amanda?
Yes, I can. It's perfect.
Perfect. So just quickly, who is J Hall Insurance? We're a remote or a mobile insurance brokerage. We're based in Toronto, but we do service all of Ontario. We're available by calling, texting, emailing, or in person as well. We do specialize in property insurance, so homes, condos, tenants, renters insurance, auto, commercial, and farm. There's probably not too many farmers on the call today, but we do offer that as well. Like Amanda mentioned, I do have over 15 years experience in the industry, combination of sales as well as in claims, which has benefited me in sales as well. So I do work with many leading insurance carriers in Canada. Some include Intact, Aviva, Wawanesa, SGI, Travelers, and Economical. I'm sure you've heard of a few of those. And then we also have access to a bunch of niche insurance carriers, and those are kind of ones that specialize in a certain area or hard to place property risks, which we'll get into in the next few slides. So quickly, I'm just going to go over the different types of property insurance. So homeowners, condos, and tenants. Review this standard insurance policy, what's included, what's excluded, and what is optional or additional. We'll jump into auto insurance, hot topic here in Ontario because we all pay way too much for it. So hopefully I can give you some advice on coverages, what's included, what's not, and just clarify no fault insurance, what that means. Lastly, touch on a few tips and pointers on how to save some money on any type of insurance. And like Amanda mentioned, Q&A at the end as well. Now, if I can't get to your question today or don't have the answer, please reach out. I will find you an answer and get you some more information as well.
Yeah, and we're always happy to make a personal introduction to Jeff and unpack any of your insurance questions. You're in great hands there.
I appreciate it. So homeowners is a pretty broad topic. It could include your primary home, your secondary home, seasonal cottages, or single family rentals. Rentals can be up to 3 units per dwelling. Okay, so it could be a detached home, semi-detached home, a townhouse, a row house, or a multi-unit. And homeowners also includes if it's occupied by yourself or an immediate family member. An immediate family member would mean like a sibling, maybe parents or children. So what many don't know is there's actually 3 common types of insurance policies. Not all 3 are the same. So when you say, oh, my neighbor pays X amount, I pay this amount, well, there's many different reasons why you may be paying different amount than your neighbor. And this is just the first part. You could have a comprehensive package, which is most common and the best. Broad form, which is still really good. And then your standard or your basic. Comprehensive is the best because it includes all risk insurance, which essentially is you're covered for everything except for what might be excluded. And then broad form includes all risk on your building, but lesser coverage on your personal property. Confusing, right? Straightforward, maybe. So it depends on what property you have, what updates are done, when it was built, depends on what package you may qualify for. So when you are comparing quotes with several other carriers, just make sure you're aware of what package you're set up on because they all can carry different costs. So is it comprehensive? The best. Broad form is, I would say, is 1B. And then your standard, your basic is kind of left for those older homes, minimal updates, older electrical, older plumbing, seasonal cottages, but only accessible for 2 or 3 months of the year, not all year round. And standard usually is the lowest end of the coverages. If you can stay away from that, I would recommend that. But sometimes, depending on the property, that's all your options are available. So when it gets into the coverages and what you're actually covered for, there's usually 2 common types. There's all risk insurance and named perils. All risk insurance provides protection against any risk that's not explicitly excluded in the policy. It can cost a bit more, but you're getting a lot more coverage and is highly recommended if you qualify for it. Whereas named perils provides insurance coverage for only a specific list of items or perils. Perils meaning what is covered, what type of loss is covered. So some of those perils include fire, lightning, explosion, windstorm and hail, which includes tornado, impact by vehicle, vandalism, smoke, and water escape. I'd be careful when you're looking at named perils because sometimes water escape is not included and sometimes it is. It depends on the carrier. So I would clarify that if you have a named perils insurance policy. I stress that point because plumbing related issues or water leaks are the #1 insurance claim these days. It's overtaken fires. So that's the main loss we usually see in homeowners policies. Now, some common exclusions on insurance policies are wear and tear, mold or fungi, acts of war, intentional acts, leakage or seepage, damage by rodents, and then sewer backup and flood is excluded, but you do have the opportunity to buy it back in, which we'll get into as one of the optional coverages for your homeowners.
This is great, Jeff. I mean, the fact that you unpack this with your clients, if someone just told me this right out of the gate, I'm not sure I would understand it.
Yeah, it's hard because once you see, like, I got home insurance, I'm paying this, looks great. Okay, well, what's included there for you though? Like, what are you paying for, right? So I always see it as like, it's kind of like you pay for what you get, right? So if your insurance rate is super low, there's probably a reason why, right? So just remind your clients and anyone on this call is just pay attention to what's included. And in a couple of slides, I'm going to throw up an example of what it looks like, what a policy looks like, and where to look for the key terms.
Thank you.
So in Ontario, the standard home insurance is going to include five key topics, and that's coverage for the dwelling or the house, detached private structures. So that could be a detached garage, a pool shed, a garden shed, play equipment, anything that's not physically attached to the house. Your personal property and your contents, your additional living expenses, and then your liability, which is third-party property damages. Okay, so every single policy with every single insurance carrier, you're going to see those 5 items. Then on the right side, you have all your optional stuff. When it comes to extended water, it gets confusing because every company calls it something different. It's sometimes extended water, comprehensive water, extra water, sewer, septic backup, overland, or flood. It gets confusing because it's not included in the regular water coverage, which is your plumbing related stuff, that's in the main policy on the left-hand side here. Some other optional coverages are equipment breakdown, service line, coverage for personal items such as jewelry, collectibles, bikes, lawnmowers, golf carts, business tools. You can add coverage for if you run a home-based business, such as a daycare per se, right? Or an IT business, so you work from home and you have clients come to visit. Some other optional coverages to protect you would be claims-free protection. You can pay a small fee, have a claim, your rates won't go up, so they'll give you one freebie per se. And you won't get canceled for having a claim because you've purchased extra coverage. And then there's extra coverage included, not included, but is additional if you're gonna Airbnb your home, a short-term rental or bed and breakfast. Now, be careful with this because most companies allow it. However, they want you to be using one of the platforms to obtain those renters. So Airbnb, Vrbo, etc. Okay. And I think the reason behind that is because those carriers include insurance coverage up to $1 million usually. So those insurance carriers would pay first if there's ever a claim, and then your home insurance will be secondary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think many people think that, oh, your insurance company can drop you as a client if you have a claim. That's a scary thought, Jeff.
Yeah, it definitely can be. Like, you don't see it too often. There's usually another underlying reason why, but when it comes to property insurance, it's not regulated in Ontario by the government like auto insurance is. So insurance companies are kind of free to do what they want when it comes to property insurance,
I
right?
guess that's why working with a broker like you to unpack those questions would be very important.
Yeah, for sure. And if someone is unfortunately going to drop you, your broker can find you another option quickly because they work with multiple companies. So just quickly, I put through an example of what a homeowner's insurance policy would look like. This one is specifically from Aviva Insurance. It's laid out pretty good, you know, easy to read. You can see at the top there it says homeowners comprehensive form. So right away, you know, you got all risk insurance, you got the best coverage that they can even offer, peace of mind, right? Then you'll see under that they have a cottage as well, or a seasonal residence. It says fire and extended coverage. To me, that means that's very basic. You're covered for fires, windstorm, maybe water, right? So it's very basic. And then down below, it gets into the coverages. You can see section 1, it lays out 4 of those 5 topics that I said is included in every policy. So you got your building, your detached structures, your contents, and your additional living expenses. Next, you have your liability. And then below, you have all the additional coverages that have been purchased on top of the standard policy. Generally speaking, you'll get the sewer backup and water coverage included in any quote because it is highly recommended by almost all insurance professionals. But you have to pay attention to the limits and where you're located if you qualify for the extra coverage or not. So when an insurance company is pricing out your insurance, they're looking at 2 major topics. There's the physical risk and then the moral risk. Physical risk, you can see on the slides here, it's actually about the physical location itself. You know, is it proximity to the body of water, the age, the style, construction, year built, list any updates, renovations that have been done. Is the basement finished? What's the occupancy? Is it your primary? Is it your secondary? Is it a rental? Is there more than one unit? Is there a business from the home? And then is there any extra stuff, pools, hot tubs, auxiliary heating like a wood stove, for example? And what is the cost to rebuild the house, right? You know, the cost of construction in Toronto is much higher than it would be, say, Windsor or North Bay. So you have to make sure you're having the right limit and right insurance coverage. Then there's the moral side of it. So it's all about the applicant. You know, how old's the applicant? Do they have a good credit score? Usually they offer preferred rates for soft credit checks and good scores. Do they have any insurance history? Have they been canceled before? Do they have any claims history? Okay, what was that type of claim and how much was paid out? Do they have a good payment history? Do they pay the insurance on time? And another one would be how long they've been with their previous insurer. Do they switch companies every single year? Maybe that insurance company doesn't want that client. And then again, do they have multiple properties or other lines of business to insure as well? So there's a lot that goes into pricing the insurance. It's more than just the house itself. I won't go into all the details of the mechanicals and the roof, but I wanted to highlight these because the insurance companies put a lot of emphasis in these areas to determine the price of insurance and what package, like the comprehensive, the broad, or the standard, what they would qualify for. So in a nutshell, they want to see newer homes or homes that are fully gutted in the last 25 years, preferably. Electrical, copper, breakers. Plumbing, they want to see copper, ABS, PEX. Heating, gas, forced air, propane is preferred. They do allow electric, wood, and oil as well with some conditions as well. And then again, roofing, they want to focus on steel, composite, or asphalt shingles, which are most common, and usually updated in the last 10 to 15 years. So you'll see on here for the electrical, companies do allow aluminum and knob and tube, as well as fuses. However, it is more challenging to find an insurance company at a reasonable cost that will insure that stuff. It's highly recommended that you might have an ESA report for plumbing. If it's oil, maybe a TSSA report, or a wood stove, you want to see a wet certificate. So bear in mind, if you have older heating, older electrical, older plumbing, it's not impossible to get insurance. It's just a bit more challenging. Okay.
And I guess if you're doing major home renovations, Jeff, you should be disclosing to your insurance company that you've done the updates because it could potentially lead to a lower insurance cost. So say you switch from aluminum to copper, or you took out your wood burning fireplace, for example, would something like that perhaps maybe lower your insurance?
Absolutely. And it wouldn't only lower your insurance, it might bump you up from a broad to a comprehensive, so you might get better coverage as well, right? So
very important to be communicating, I guess, and every year when you do updates, either adding a hot tub or removing something or doing updates, to maybe be speaking with your broker to make sure you still have the best policy, or maybe you can be bumped up or get a better rate.
Yeah, absolutely. There's several options out there with regards to maintaining your own home, right? Because wear and tear, it's an exclusion. So, you know, you let the roof get old, it's at its last legs, there's a windstorm. There's a chance your insurance company might not pay out, right? So you want to make sure that you have proper coverage for when a claim does happen.
Great, thank you.
So you took the words in my mouth here. I got this slide here. It's like when to notify your broker or your insurance provider. Big thing is when your home is vacant or there's a change in occupancy. Maybe, for example, it's not your primary home anymore. You move out and you decide to rent it. You should let your insurance company know. When you're on vacation, many insurance companies have a clause that say you need someone that's comparable to check your house every 48 to 72 hours, right? I know
That's
that
awesome.
that's a big ask, right? And how many people do that? But there is a clause, and it is kind of a gray area, but I would hate to see someone go to Florida for a week and not have anyone check, and the insurance company says, was anyone checking your home? Oh, we're not going to pay for that burst pipe, right? So just have somebody, a neighbor, a friend, a relative, you know, driving by. I do have a couple examples in the books now. The house is in an estate, so it's for sale. The house is technically vacant, but the real estate agent is there every day. So, you know, you just have that real estate agent document that they did check it. It just covers everyone's butts just in case, right? And then again, if your home is under renovations, you're going to update it or improve your home. Generally, if it's cosmetic, there's coverage included in your homeowner's policy already. But when you get into structural improvements, taking down walls, adding square footage, finishing a basement, you should let your insurance company know what updates you're going to do, because sometimes there's an extra cost associated with the renovation. Don't automatically assume your contractor is covering the work to your home. Sure, they should have their own liability for the work they're doing, but you want to make sure that you're covered for the structural changes to your house as well. A couple other examples would be if you're going to start or operate a business from home, you can usually tack on the liability for the business to your homeowners as opposed to getting a commercial general liability policy. And then some other advantages to letting your insurance company know where your broker is. If you pay off your mortgage, install alarms, sub pumps, cameras, can all lead to savings. And then if you have a claim, I recommend contacting your broker, having a chat about the claim first, and get some advice before you put it through the carrier.
So let's say, Jeff, even if you're standing in ankle deep water, they would be call you first.
I would, yeah, for sure. And if you can't get a hold of your broker, obviously you need to contact your carrier right away, right? But if it's a claim that where you can wait and speak with your broker, because sometimes, you know, you have a deductible, which is the amount of money you got to pay in the event of a claim. Damages might be minor. Is it, Jeff, is it worth my while putting a claim through to see my rates just go up, right? So you can kind of get that off the record advice and get some tips and pointers before you let the carrier know. Most carriers, if you call them, won't put a claim through unless you really, really want to, right? And then there's some carriers where you call them, it's on record, right? So it may impact you. So I would just say if you can get a hold of your broker or your insurance provider first, get some advice, and then make a rational decision from there. It's probably the best option. So that was a lot for the homeowners. So I just wanted to touch quickly on condos as well, because there's some misconceptions on condos. There's always going to be two insurance policies on a condo. First, the condo corp, which will insure the building, common areas, usually the exterior of the building, and any maintenance equipment. And then secondly, which is more important for people on this call, would be the unit owner's insurance. I live downtown Toronto in a condo, and so I've experienced this where many first-time homebuyers especially purchase a condo. They think they're only responsible for their contents, and that's it. Actually, in reality, they're responsible for their contents and any improvements and betterments that have been done to the condo. So when you're purchasing a condo, it's very important to purchase a condo insurance policy, not a tenant's insurance policy, because a condo insurance policy covers you for those improvements and betterments. It covers you for contingency insurance in case the condo's insurance is not adequate, and it covers you for liability as well. Say, for example, your bathtub or your toilet overflows, damages the unit below you. That unit's insurance company sues you for that damage because it originated in your unit. You'd want your liability to pay for that, not you out of pocket. So what we do is, my rule of thumb is, sometimes it's hard to determine what's an improvement and betterment and what is the building's responsibility. So my rule of thumb is, based on what I've read, the unit owner is responsible for everything inside the drywall, including flooring, kitchen cabinetry, all your contents, etc. So that's how we would quote it, to include enough coverage for the improvements and betterments in case your unit's damaged.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one wants to be replacing their floor if it's an issue from above. And I think I remember you packing this with me too, Jeff, about the insurance corp is also going to have a deductible on their insurance policy. And from my understanding, you can also insure against that deductible, and that's something that's very helpful to condo owners.
Yeah, and usually that comes under, like on this slide here, you'll see loss assessment coverage, property and liability. Like in the industry, the condo corp's insurance policies have increased astronomically. So they've gone up quite a bit. So what condo corps are doing is increasing the deductibles to save money.
And I think that's to keep maintenance fees lower.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So your unit owner's condo insurance policy will have additional coverage built in for you in case the condo corp has a claim, but it's below their deductible amount, so they can't physically put a claim through their carrier. They'll then do an assessment to all the unit owners and ask all the unit owners to pay for the damage. And this is where your condo insurance policy will protect that, so you're not out of pocket.
Yeah, I think it's very important that all condo owners check to make sure that they have that coverage, because that sounds, no one wants to get a big bill from their condo corp that they weren't expecting.
Well, that's exactly right, right? Like, who has 25, 50 grand in their pocket, right? And those are usually limits that are included in your policy, so they're pretty sufficient.
That's a big number.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So on top of your personal contents, your condo deductible, your loss assessment coverage, just like a homeowner's, it includes additional living expenses, your liability, and then the options to buy sewer backup, flood, increase personal limits, and then increase the improvements as well. Maybe you've fully gutted your condo and it's fully custom now, right? You may want to increase that limit as well in case you have to rebuild.
So again, like a homeowner's policy, you do any great improvements, let your insurance carrier know. You upgrade your flooring, you put in a new kitchen, things like that, you're going to want to check with your broker.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's hard to determine what is the builder's responsibility versus the owner's. And the only way to determine that is actually to read the bylaws. And in the condo bylaws, it'll say standard unit definition. You need to find that definition because that'll clearly lay out who's responsible for what. And if there ever is a claim, claims adjusters will want those bylaws to say, okay, condo corp insurance, you pay this. Unit owner's insurance, we pay this, because it's clearly defined in the bylaws.
So if someone wanted to reach out to their condo corp, get those bylaws, then they could sit down and have a conversation with you to make sure that they had the right coverage, or with their broker.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So similar to the homeowner's policy, like here's another example for Aviva. It looks very, very similar, except it says condominium comprehensive form. So again, that's the best package you can get. And then below it summarizes your personal property, your additional living expenses, the additional protection, which is the improvement, betterments, the condo deductibles, your liability as well. So a couple key terms that I'll touch on real quick. Most condo insurance policies, as well as homeowners, include replacement cost. So what would it cost to replace the materials or contents today, as well as a single limit. Single limit means they take all those 5 coverages in a homeowner's or those 4 in a condo, give you one global limit, and you can use that limit how you want in the event of a claim if it's a total loss, right? So a little bit extra coverage beyond what limits are already set for you, which gives you peace of mind that, you know, I got some extra coverage in case we do need it.
I think that's important. If you're
And
facing
then,
a loss, you're probably in a pretty stressed out situation.
yeah, absolutely. And the last thing you want during a claim is to realize you don't have the right coverage or inadequate coverage, right? That's going to become even more stressful, right? No one really wants to use insurance, right? But when you need to, you want to know you're going to get looked after, right?
Absolutely.
And then the third type of property insurance is tenants insurance. So those renting a unit in a house, an apartment, or a bedroom. These packages would include your contents, your additional living expenses, and liability. And quite often, the pushback I would get is, I don't have money contents. What do I need tenants insurance for? It's like, well, it includes your additional living expenses and liability. What if there's a fire in the house you're renting a room in and it's a total loss? Where are you gonna go? How are you gonna buy new clothes, right? So the additional living expenses will pay to put you up elsewhere, right? So it protects you and any added expenses out of your own pocket. And usually landlords will require you to have tenants insurance. I don't believe they can make it mandatory, but they definitely will require it. And it will help a landlord save money on their insurance as well. So
Yeah, I believe the OSL does have a provision for is there a requirement for insurance? And if the landlord checks yes, it does need to be provided by the tenant. I believe most landlords now are asking for about $2 million liability coverage, just because that $1 million liability doesn't really cover much these days, unfortunately. I don't know if you've seen that often, Jeff, the $2 million liability coverage. Do you feel like that's sufficient?
yeah, the minimum I would do is 2 million. Honestly, the additional cost from the 1 to 2 million is dollars. Like, it's very, very small. So to have the extra $1 million coverage in case of a lawsuit is huge, right? Like, here's a couple examples on the slide here. Like, what if your faulty toaster oven starts a fire and damages not only your apartment, but, you know, an entire complex of 4 units? There's a huge liability exposure there, right? If having a 2 million liability limit is greater and is better than the 1 million limit.
Yeah, I could see that. You don't want to be on the hook for those costs if you don't have coverage.
No, definitely not. And how do you move out or go start elsewhere, right? Like, so contents, additional living expenses, and liability, it's a small amount. Like, you can get a tenant's policy for as low as $15 to $20 a month. That includes all of that, right? So it's fairly inexpensive. One other common question I get is students who are living away from home, but in residence, do they need tenants insurance? Short answer is, if they're in residence on campus, the parents' home insurance policy will cover them. If they move off campus, that's when they need to get their own tenants insurance. Mom and dad's policy won't cover them anymore.
Could mom and dad tag them on as tenant insurance under their home and current policy, or is it a whole separate package?
Sometimes you can add on a rider to the home insurance policy, right? It'll extend liability and then coverage for their contents. Again, it's just one of those things you should ask your broker. Like, hey, what's the best way to do this?
Absolutely. And the cost seems so low, $15 to $20 a month for peace of mind. Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, it's a small price to pay, I think, right? Like, we pay a lot of money for our cell phones, our cables, and our coffees and our lunches out and stuff, right? Like, what's $15 a month for tenants insurance, right?
All the streaming services, guilty as charged.
Yeah, me too. So just a few recommendations if you're buying a property or leasing a property. I suggest taking photos specifically of the mechanicals and the roof. This is mostly towards homeowners policies. Ask details on past upgrades, what renovations have been done. Look for sump pumps, backflow valves, signs of leaks or water damage. Some of those items will give you savings on your or discounts on your insurance. Unfinished basements are good. because it gives you a good view of the electrical and plumbing, the floor joists, and if there's any cracks in the foundations, keep an eye on those. Ask if there's been any previous claims. Might be tough to get that information, but it's worth asking. Again, take photos. Underwriters love photos. It tells them the story. For example, if you don't know how old the roof is, take some photos. If it looks in really good condition, that'll help. And then condos, let's say condos, just review those bylaws. If you can get your hands on them, any lawyer should be able to provide those for you and help you.
That's great. I mean, a lot of our tenants on here have worked with the agents to find their lease, and these are all questions that the agents can inquire for you and make sure that you're protected in the trade, and then get you in contact with someone like Jeff who can get you $15 to $20 coverage a month and be protected. This is wonderful.
Yeah, and like in your industry, like you can gather a lot of this information from a good listing, right? So a good listing may outline some of these updates and upgrades, so keep an eye out for that. If not, that's why photos come into play, right? Home inspections are good, but I know they're not always done. So get photos, have your broker find you the best option based on the details that you know. And then finally, for property insurance, just a few tips on how or where you can save. You can bundle multiple policies, whether that's having vehicles, rental properties, cottages. Allow for a soft credit check. It does not impact your score. It usually leads to a significant discount. If you have bad credit, your rate doesn't go up, you just don't get the discount. You could increase your deductibles if you're one not to claim or willing to pay for a claim out of your own pocket. Inform your insurance company of any updates, renovations to the home. Paying your insurance premium on time or in full usually leads to some savings. Being claims free and mortgage free is also some savings. And then some ideas are install sump pumps, backflow valves. Water alarms is a big topic these days, and many carriers offer discounts for it. Cameras, generators, any type of backup power, backup sump pumps, all that stuff helps.
That's great. So you're talking Ring cameras, Google Nest, anything like that? You can disclose it to your insurance company?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Let them know. And the discount percentage varies from carrier to carrier, but any bit helps, right?
That's great.
So there's some key terms to look out for when you're reviewing your insurance. You know, there's a lot of jargon and paperwork that insurance companies send you. So the first few pages of your policy, you're going to see some common terms. You know, are you comprehensive? Are you broad form? Or are you basic? And then again, is it all risk or is it named perils? What are you actually covered for? And then does it include replacement cost or actual cash value? What's your liability limit? Keep an eye out for these additional coverages such as extended water, sewer backup. Just quickly, sewer backup for those rural properties does include septics as well. Okay, so that's in there. And then overland water and flood. What are your discounts and surcharges? Make sure you're getting the proper discounts. And then condos for your improvements and betterments and contents. Just make sure your limit's adequate. Okay, now the fun part, the auto insurance that everyone hates because it's too expensive and it's always increasing, right? That's just because the amount of injury fraud and auto thefts going on in Ontario. You know, we all pay the price, whether you have a claim or not. You know, our rates are going up. And the big thing for that is because it's regulated by the government. So sometimes insurance companies' hands are kind of tied. You know, they have to ask the government to approve rate changes and any coverage changes, and that usually takes up to 6 months. You know, so like sometimes they may want to make improvements on their pricing, but it takes a while, right? Unfortunately, just like everything else with the government, right? So your auto insurance price is based on several factors. Some of the key ones is the driver themselves. What's your experience? What's your driving record? Do you have any tickets? Do you have any accidents? The vehicle itself, what's the safety rating? What do you use the vehicle for? Is it personal or business? Where do you live? What's your postal code? Right? We
Even
all
your
pay.
code comes into play, eh?
Yeah, auto insurance in you won't be surprised, but Brampton, Mississauga, Hamilton are like the 3 highest territories, they call it, in Ontario. So you live in that area, unfortunately, you're automatically going to be paying higher.
Interesting.
And then one misconception is no fault insurance. A lot of people assume that because it's called no fault insurance, that there's an accident, no one's at fault. Well, that couldn't be more wrong. There's always fault. Fault's always determined, right? And there's certain rules that are set out by the government again that all insurance companies follow. So basically, they take the facts of the accident, vehicle A, vehicle B, and they apply a rule, and that's how they determine fault. So it can be 25% at fault, 50% at fault, or 100. So basically, the no fault insurance means each insurance company will cover their own individual and pay for the damages. It's just one person will be not at fault and the other one will be. The one that is at fault, the rates will go up and they'll have to pay a deductible unless they paid extra for protection or a free accident. Another big topic is accident benefits. So this is if you're physically injured because of a car accident. There's standard coverage and then there's optional coverage. Again, optional, obviously it's going to cost you more, but it does increase your limits. And there's a lot of information and literature on this topic. So if you're interested and you want more information, feel free to email me and reach out, because there's several different topics, options that can be discussed. And you'll see it next year, but in June 2026, the government's reducing the standard coverage for accident benefits. And that's their way to make it look like they're helping auto insurance. But really what they're doing is they're just cutting back coverage. Sure, it's going to lower your premiums, but it's also going to put you at risk because you're not going to have higher limits anymore. So it's a bit scary. So make sure you're advising and reviewing those limits all the time.
Yeah, I think you just get notified in the mail if I remember correctly from my own insurance policy. They don't call you, they don't email you, they don't make sure that you understood what you got. They just kind of mail you a letter and you're like, here's your new policy. So they do have the right to just make those changes, right, Jeff?
Yeah, like the government's they're doing it. They're gonna do it next June, and everyone's gonna get a letter saying, oh, your coverage has changed. But a lot of people are gonna see their costs go down. So they're like, oh, that's good, right? But if you don't have a good insurance partner to ask questions, they need to explain what's changed. Okay, well, what if I want my old limits back? What's it going to cost, right? And then auto insurance, you have your physical damage coverage, so your collision and your comprehensive. Collision refers to any single vehicle hit and runs or at-fault accidents. That's when you need collision coverage. Comprehensive covers your fire, your theft, your windshield, or any animal impact claims. Those are not at fault claims. And then most importantly, your third-party liability. And just like Amanda mentioned, for the tenants, highly, highly recommend 2 million, right? This protects you if there's ever a lawsuit for an accident that you're at fault for. You know, someone's catastrophically injured. They don't have enough accident benefits coverage. They're then going to turn to you because you were at fault. And that's where your liability protection comes in place. Okay. And like any other insurance policy, there's optional coverages if you want to pay more. You have your rental vehicles, whether that's for a claim or personal vacation use. You can buy protection for any free accidents or convictions. You can increase those accident benefits. And then you can add in coverage if you're doing Ubers, Lyfts, or you're carrying passengers for hire. Okay, so how can you save on your auto insurance? Like property, bundle it with other lines of business you have or other vehicles in the household. Installing winter tires is a discount. You could increase your deductibles or even remove coverage that's not needed. For example, an older beater vehicle, you may not be worried if it gets damaged, so you could remove collision. Or if you have a summer car that you park in storage for winter, you could reduce your coverage to comprehensive only. You can't drive it, but you're still covered for fire and theft. Another big item is trying a telematics program, which basically means you have an app on your phone that assesses your habits, like speeding, braking, acceleration, turning. Are you on your phone? Many companies offer 10% off just for trying it. And then in year 2 and onward, they offer up to 30% and more discounts if you have good habits. And I get a lot of pushback on this one because people don't want to be tracked, you know, but they only use the details of this for pricing your insurance. They don't sell it or share it to any other marketing firms or any of that kind of stuff, right? My rebuttal to that is we all have smartphones. We're being tracked anyway, right? But this is insurance companies saying, hey, we're trying to help people save money. Here's an option.
Do you find many clients are taking advantage of that? Because, or is there some trackers that just go in your car, or is it usually your phone?
It's just an app on your phone. So if you have your phone in the vehicle, it's gonna pick it up, right? It depends on the company. Some companies only track you for 90 days to get a good idea of how you drive. Some are 365 days. I personally use it myself and it just runs in the background. I can't remember the last time I opened it, right? And year 1, I saved 10% to try it. I was like, why not? And then year 2, I still have an 8% discount. So I'm still saving as if I started with that company today without an app. So I say it's good for younger drivers because their cost of insurance is so high to begin with. That 10% to start could be significant, right? Could be a huge amount of savings. And then just review your use or your number of kilometers. Like when COVID was happening and everyone was working from home, a lot of people didn't notify their insurance. They're no longer commuting to work, right? Or vice versa, when COVID ended and people were getting called back to work. Make sure you're always reviewing the usage so you're being priced correctly. And then lastly, partner with an insurance broker who can shop around for you.
I think that's a great point because you're there to work for the client to make sure that the client is protected and that they understand exactly what they're getting and shop them around for the best policy. Where if you go direct, they're there to work with the direct provider and make sure that the provider isn't over coveraging you or giving you too much, perhaps.
Yeah, I would say if you go with the direct writer, they're usually cheaper, but there's a reason because they're usually starting you with basic coverage, right? And you're inputting all your details online. They're giving you a basic quote that might include high deductibles, low liability, and no extras. The price is going to look great, but are you comparing apples to apples and are you actually properly protected?
Yeah, where does your peace of mind come in?
Yeah. So like I did with the property, here's just a brief example of what an auto insurance policy might look like and how to read it. They're all going to be the same. You're going to see your liability, your accident benefits, and then your additional coverages, your collision, your comprehensive, and then any riders at the end. So just some key terms when it comes to the auto insurance. Check out your liability limits. Do you have collision, comprehensive? Do you have the extra coverage for the rental cars? How are you using your car? Who's assigned to your car? Like, you want to make sure, policyholder A is commuting to work, policyholder B is not, which vehicle they're using, because there might be different pricing per vehicle. Again, review those accident benefits, review those discounts and surcharges. I touched on the no fault. And then maybe opt to purchase the accident protection and forgiveness. So it's when I'm usually on the road, I'm not concerned about my driving, it's everyone else around me, right? So if there is an accident that I'm in the wrong time, wrong place, I have protection in case there's an accident. I don't want my rates to go up because someone else did something silly, right?
Good call.
And then lastly here, just a couple pointers of why you should work with an insurance broker. Like Amanda touched on, they work for you, not the insurance companies, right? They listen to your needs, have access to several options, transparent, provides honest and timely advice, specifically in a claim, is it worth my while putting through what's going to happen to my rates if I do? I don't want to be canceled. You can have those off the record conversations with your broker. And they act as another advocate, someone in your corner in case you need support during a claim. The big one for me is they know you, they built a relationship with you. When you call in, you're usually going to talk to the same person, if not one other person every time, creating familiarity. Whereas you're not calling a 1-800 number, talking to everyone, someone different every time, and re-explaining your story each time too. And I feel like you want someone who assists in the accuracy of your information, helps you do the underwriting up front, make sure you have the right coverages, and reviews that annually.
That's great. I know I speak to my broker, and it's more about I really want to make sure I'm protected in A, B, or C. Or what if there's a crazy rainstorm in Toronto and it comes through a window, not the sewer? And they can unpack to say, well, you want to make sure you have above ground coverage and sewer backup. And so it's nice to just be able to verbalize what you want to be protected for, and then for you to understand and put it forward instead of me clicking online trying to figure out exactly what I don't know I need.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the online companies are good if you're just trying to get a rough quote and budgeting before you make a decision. But if you actually want to understand and go through your policies, you kind of want to have a phone call or an in-person meeting with an insurance broker that can show you a few things. And if I lost you after the first slide, hopefully you're awake now, and you can just a quick takeaway here is there's much more to property and auto insurance than the costs. I encourage an annual review of those coverage limits and discounts. Know your property. You know, when was stuff updated? What are you going to update? For condos, know those bylaws. What's the standard unit? Tenants insurance includes more than just your contents. Auto insurance, review those coverages. What's included, what's optional. Confirm your policies up to date. And then lastly, a couple things here. Partner with an experienced insurance broker who truly puts your interest first. And you can have the right coverage and a trusted relationship with a professional, and gives you peace of mind. So that's all I had for you today. I know it's a lot of topic and there's more questions that might come up, so we'll open it up for questions now. If I don't get to it today, here's all my contact information. Feel free to reach out directly. And then I threw in a couple reviews I've received recently that have helped out some clients. So thought those were interesting.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeff. And any of the agents who invited you here today can also do a personal introduction to Jeff to make sure that you're protected. Or, you know, hopefully you can take these questions and bring them to your broker if you have a great relationship. Just, I hope there was some nuggets of good information for you today. And we do have a couple questions in the chat, Jeff. So do you mind if I throw them up and we unpack them here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do my best to get answers. If I don't know it right now, I'll find it for you.
Perfect. So Mary D had a question. If you have a claim, for how many years will that transaction influence the cost of your coverage?
Usually, if your claim's free for 3 years after, you'll start to see some savings again. And then the next tier would be 5 years claims free is like the big discount.
Okay, so 5 years. So let's say you have a claim year 1 and then a claim year 3. Is there a chance that your insurance company may not want to cover or drop you after that?
There's a possibility of that for sure, specifically if it's the same issue, right? If you haven't shown that you've fixed or corrected an issue, then they may either remove that coverage or to cancel.
Okay. We do have a lot of landlords who might be watching this seminar, as well as tenants. But for our landlord clients, what type of insurance for landlords have if the tenant doesn't pay their rent? Is there coverage for that? I'm unaware if there is or not.
No, that wouldn't be covered on any insurance policy. The only rental income coverage you would have is if it's an insured loss, like a fire or a burst pipe, and the tenant moves out, and therefore you're losing out on rental income, then you can put a claim through your insurance company.
Is there any high level things that landlords should be making sure that they have coverage for? Because I know they're not covering the contents of their tenants' belongings, but what do landlords want to make sure that they have on their property? Like, what are the top things that you can think of that they should be covering their properties for?
Bare minimum 2 million liability, maybe even consider 5, because in a rental place, you don't know who's coming and going from the property. Let's be real, right? Especially student rentals, you know, or multi-unit rentals. The coverages I discussed during the homeowners, the comprehensive, the broad, are applicable to rental properties as well. So if you have a rental property that's been fully updated or fairly new, you're going to get good coverage at a good rate. And then same as a homeowners, the additional coverages, the sewer backup, the water, the overland flood, those are all very important coverages because if something happens to the building, you want your butt protected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a couple other ones that came in with registration. What are some insurance concerns if you are a fully work from home remote employee? Is there anything that you should be disclosing to your insurance if you're full-time from home? Not a self-employed individual, because I think that you covered quite a few topics of that, but what about just work from home for a company?
No, working from home is fine. You don't need to let your property insurance know. You'd only want to let them know if you are, like you said, Amanda, self-employed, or maybe you own the laptop you're working on. You can add coverage in for business contents on your homeowner's policy. If you're someone like myself, an insurance broker, or you, Amanda, a real estate agent, you have a home office, you should let your insurance company know about that stuff. But if you're working for another employer, then you don't need to worry about that. I would review your auto insurance though. If you're not commuting to an office anymore, you could change that and lower your rate a bit.
Oh, that's a good call. And
Yeah.
what about for people who decide to live 6 months elsewhere? Are there things besides obviously getting people to check on your home every 48 hours, as you mentioned? Are there things that they should be considering adding to their policies if they're gone for, a substantial period of the winter or a year?
Thing you can add, like you said, checking on it and shutting off the water, right?
Right. What are your most common things that clients call you for? Like, what's your most common phone call or emergency that you receive calls on a weekly or daily basis?
It's usually price related, right? Like why are my insurance rates going up? I don't have any claims, right? But it depends on auto insurance is just getting out of control in Ontario, right? With pricing and stuff. But when it comes to claims advice, like the basement toilet or drain backed up, I've cleaned it up. I don't think there's that much damage. Is it worth calling the insurance company? Should I not? Those kinds of calls come in. On annual reviews, we'll try to find ways to save on insurance. If rates have gone up, I try to be proactive and shop around for you, right? I think at the beginning of the call, you said insurance isn't top of mind for everybody, which I understand. So let us do that for you, right? Let us find you the best coverage. Just some general calls, people looking around for better pricing and better coverage. I find the last couple of years, people have become more interested in what they're getting insurance wise. In the past, several people were just comfortable paying the price, seeing the money come out of their account every month. They didn't really know what they were covered for, but I think the public's getting a little bit more educated, which is great. So they understand what they're covered for, what they're paying for, and what other options are out there.
Yeah, I think weather and environmental things are getting a little bit more extreme over the past 10 years. So I think it's important to really understand your coverage or ask these questions or know what you're covered for. Because in the spring, Toronto does have sometimes some pretty crazy rainstorms or ice storms. I don't know if anyone remembers the ice storms over the holiday. So you never want to need something really badly in an emergency and then realize that's the one thing you're not covered for.
Well, exactly. Especially when I say water, like water, everyone assumes that like anything water related, I'm covered for. Well, in insurance world, water means like the burst pipes. You need to have the extra sewer backup or the overland water or the groundwater coverage, right? So just be aware of those extra coverages to make sure you actually are insured for it.
Okay, great. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Oh, there's one that just came in. Let's see here. Oh, have you noticed that people sometimes can be claims happy? Does this affect your insurance rate? I think the answer was yes, too many claims can increase your premiums or drop by Jeff.
Yeah, I think the first course of action is they'll increase the deductible for that type of loss. And then if it becomes too repetitive, they'll remove the coverage completely or cancel you, right? Which will make it tricky getting insurance elsewhere. On property, for example, if it's auto related, other insurance companies or new insurance companies are going to see those claims, see what the other insurance companies have paid out, and they're going to price your new quote accordingly. So it is common, unfortunately, to see carriers say, like, you know what, we're done with that client, let's move on.
Wow. Well, I would never want that to happen to any of our clients, so I feel like they're supported.
Yeah.
If anyone else has any questions, please let us know, but I think we can wrap it up for today. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Jeff, and there's a lot to unpack there. There's terms that, you know, I knew about, but terms I didn't necessarily understand or realize that coverage, what was covered, maybe what wasn't covered. So I hope everyone found some value today, whether you're watching this live or at home later. Again, where you can unpack your specific needs and your specific questions individually, either with the agent who invited you here today or with Jeff personally. So let us know. We want to make sure that your largest asset, your home, your car is fully protected and that you feel safe and that you know what your coverage is. Because when you know better, you do better. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff. We really appreciate you taking the time and unpacking insurance, which we know is not the most fun topic, but
Right.
when you need it, you want to know that you have it and that it has your back.
Well, that's exactly it. So I appreciate you guys having me out today. And if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I thank you again for joining us, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day and reach out with any questions we can assist you with. Bye for now.